Hello, 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 and happy Tuesday. I would like to talk today about a plushie brand, a small indie plushie creator who seems to have received a good bit of controversy online lately, and also, in my opinion, and the opinion of others, has mistreated myself. I would like to talk about the Sugary Carousel brand. Before I do that, please do not judge my Pokopia, Fuchsia Town, the Wastelands. It is currently in the process of what I call trust the process. I modded on the Sugary Carousel's Sugar Bell Discord server for about 15 months. I remember I was very inspired by Sugary Carousel. I first came across Moon, or K, their names. I came across Moon on Twitter when they were making the Animal Crossing icons, and I was there for their milkshake campaign, which included Milkshake, Bluebell, Cinnabunny. I might be missing somebody. And of course, Cinnabunny stole my heart, and Cinnabunny was my first plushie of Sugary Carousels. And I even created my own plushie that was kind of inspired by their Pawberry, a plushie from a later on campaign. This is my Peachy Beans. I hand-sewed this guy. He was inspired by the Pawberry, but he is also based off of my kitten. He's no longer a kitten. Kose. In June of 2024, Moon made a post on her Twitter page asking if any of her mutuals would like to be hired to help out on her social media. I messaged Moon at that point and I said, hey, I love social media. Sitting here thinking they just need help maybe scheduling tweets on Twitter or maybe answering comments on Facebook. But then they asked me if I would like to moderate their Discord channel. And I knew then that it was a little misleading, especially since she had used the words hired, but modding on their Discord channel would have been completely voluntary. And at that point, I figured if I am going to continue to be inspired by this person, whom I would like to be friends with at some point, I should just ignore my gut and say yes. And so I modded for them until September of 2025, about 15 months. This is where I bring up some of the controversy that is online, and I would like to state everything that I say today is completely honest, and much of it can be proven by finding the public posts online. Sorry, I am looking for something and I am pressing the wrong buttons. There is a Discord post that vaguely features me as a mod. It is a post to discuss some of the controversy of Sugary Carousel. Much of it is to discuss the toxicity that is in the Discord server. In the Reddit post, the OP states that they were messaged by a mod critiquing them or criticizing a plushie, I believe, of Sugary Carousels. I did message OP. Messages to any members of the Discord server, and this was before a rule was implemented, were always usually co-written. None of the other mods, they always knew about the messages that were being sent. So another mod brought up that OP was criticizing something of Moon's, a product or something. They brought it up in the mod group, and it was agreed that because I had already had an open message with OP, that I should be the one to send the message. And honestly, I do believe they will tell you that I am misremembering this. And I could be misremembering this. This was over a year ago. But what I remember is that, sorry about the airplane if you can hear that, the mod that had brought the issue into the mod group helped me write the message to OP. And another mod, who was Moon's best friend, at the time we were only 3. Why does it look like I've been here before? That's crazy. This mod is Moon's best friend, and messages were always known by the best friend or even vetted by the best friend before they were sent in. So I did not write the message alone. I did not send the message on my own decision, but I did send the message, and I have spoken to OP since, and we have apologized to one another, and no blame is placed on either party. We don't blame the other for all of the controversy that has come of this one singular message. The reason I had an open message already with OP is a friend of theirs came to me in the middle of the night. And I know this was in the middle of the night because based off of the dates, it was just after, like a week after I had a surgery. And during my recovery of the surgery, the majority of my waking hours were in the middle of the night. I received this message that stated that their friend was feeling slightly harassed by another member in the community. I messaged the friend, OP, who told me who the member was. I looked into it. I scoured the public Discord messages in the channel, in the server, and brought up the evidence to Moon and the other mods, and Moon said that they would look into it, and I let OP know that Moon was looking into it, and that was where it was left. And so I did message OP, and I might have been harsh in my message because that was the same week. A lot of stuff happened all at once. That we found the first cancerous lump in my cat, Shanghai. He was 12 years old, and he was the cat that I had throughout the entirety of my 20s. This cat, Shanghai, meant everything to me. So in the moment when the message to OP of the controversy was sent, was one of the most difficult moments of my life because I had just had the surgery. I had just found out there was something very wrong with my cat. We were in the diagnosis process. And also I was looking at the scary possibility that I might be losing my own home, my support system. I had a lot going on. I was not in a good state, but I was 100% of the time fully and completely honest with the mod group. And speaking of the mod group, the user that OP had believed to be harassing them, less than 2 weeks later, was asked to be our 4th or 5th mod, because the second person was asked to be the other of the 4 or the 5. Numbers are difficult for me. So now I would like to speak on my controversy, now that we've gotten past the controversy that is online. And this is not the only one. There are other posts. And there was a whole subreddit for Sugarbell that had other posts, and those you will not be able to find online anymore, because when I commented a few months ago on OP's Reddit page to say, hey, I'm the mod, I would like to explain where I was in my life, I would like to take accountability, and I would like to apologize. Within an hour of my posting that comment, the Sugar Bell subreddit was gone. So we would not be able to find those controversy posts anymore. But there's still some on the Plushie Reddit. I was completely honest with everything that was going on in my life. They knew that I lost Shanghai to cancer. He was officially diagnosed on July 9th, 2025. And 20 days later, July 29th, Shanghai lost his battle at home in my arms. They knew that I wasn't in the best place. I was doing my best with what I could with the community. I remember a moment, like right after, before I even had Shanghai's ashes, one of the really young members of the Discord community server was talking, I don't know if they were talking to me, I don't know if they were talking to somebody else, but I was like somehow involved in the conversation. And they made a very just subtle, small joke indicating something about a cat exploding. I don't fully remember the joke, but I do remember, oh my god, I just lost my cat. This is not something I want to see right now. And I went to the mod group and I said, hey, is it okay if I let them know I really don't want them making these kinds of jokes? And I remember Moon was the one to answer, and Moon said, your feelings are real too. So I did let the young community member know that I just lost my cat. They didn't know, which is understandable. And they were apologetic, and they deleted the comment, and they never made another comment like that again. But a little while later, I noticed that there was a GIF that was being kind of passed around in the community, and it was of a cat exploding. So obviously that one hit me too. And I went back to the mod group and I said, hey, can we please ask them? Actually, that's not what I said. I said, am I being too sensitive about this GIF, or can we ask them to please not spread this one around? And I remember it was Moon's best friend who answered, because they said that the GIF was cool and that they use it all the time. I would like to apologize. Moon's best friend's pronouns are she, her, and she continued to use the GIF even after, and it might have only been once, it might have only been twice, I don't fully remember, but I remember one specific time she used it in the mod group chat when she knew I was online. I might have even been actively talking in the mod group chat. And maybe it was harmless, maybe it was on purpose, because I started noticing it around then, and it started very subtly. And anybody who didn't know us personally and who didn't know about our conversations and conversations that I have had with Moon myself would never know that Moon's best friend was very subtly mocking and harassing me. And that is how I feel, and my feelings are real. I remember there was one post, and I believe this was after I stepped down as a mod voluntarily, that they posted a picture of one of Moon's sample products. And the caption, only I would know, only Moon would know, because it was a private conversation, that I was being mocked. And I'm not sure how Moon's best friend would know about that private conversation. There was one time where it was the middle of the night again, because I was always online in the middle of the night. Guys, I don't sleep. Okay? I have insomnia and I have chronic fatigue. Sleep is weird for me. Somebody had an issue, a shop issue. It wasn't like, it was nobody's fault. It was a online error. It was a website error. Yeah. So somebody had an issue with the website online. the store that they wanted to buy something from. And I did not want this person to waste their time nor their money. So I said, I will look into this and I will help Moon fix this. And in doing so, I did ping Moon so that Moon would know, hey, this is something we got to fix for this customer because this is an issue on your business. And I know that you want your customers to use your business. So I found the issue. And obviously I can't fix the issue because I don't have access to, you know, the coding or whatever you want to call it for the shop. I fixed the issue. I found the issue and I posted the issue in the mod chat for Moon to see. And yes, I probably did accidentally ping Moon a second time. That is my fault. That I take accountability for. But the next day, I woke up and I had a ping. And it was Moon asking me to not ping them unless it is an important issue. Because of the anxiety that they get when they are pinged. And I said, I apologize, but I did think this being a time-sensitive store issue was important enough for a ping. And they explained that they meant something like an emergency, like when a few weeks before there had been hate raids in the Discord channel. And so I said, noted. This was over a year ago. I don't remember. It wasn't. It was over a year ago. I don't remember exactly how I worded it, and right now I cannot word at all, can I? So I said noted. I won't ping you again. Maybe those aren't the exact words I used. And the issue was dropped. Hours later, comes in the best friend telling me how I should have handled the issue. And I said, hey, did we not already finish this? Did I not apologize? You know, again, I don't fully remember my wording, but I do remember that Moon jumped in and it felt like the blame was placed on me for continuing the conversation when the conversation was over. Now, here's where I state that we had a few rules in the Discord mod, and it took us a very long time for these rules to come about. I remember asking for months for there to be clearer rules, for there to be clearer guidelines, for there to be clearer boundaries. I was constantly asking for this. One of the rules was implemented during the controversy, the Discord controversy, after the message was sent to the member because they did leave the server. It was decided by Moon's husband that mods should not privately message any members without said members' permission. It's a good rule. It should have been implemented previously. And honestly, I take accountability for not having had permission to message OP. Also, during that controversy, Moon had commented on that Reddit post that I was no longer a mod. And it might have been unintentional, but it did make it sound like I was removed because of the issue. But I was not removed. And if Moon ever did want me not to be a mod, they never told me. She was not honest with me about that. When I was fully honest about everything, and I stepped down voluntarily in September, about May, June, July, 4 or 5 months after the incident. And so another rule that was implemented, and this one was decided, I believe, by Moon, was that only one mod should be taking care of an issue at a time so that members don't feel dogpiled, bombarded, etc. But Moon also counts. And Moon and I settled the issue wherein I apologized for pinging Moon and promised I would never do it again. And Moon's best friend decided that she was going to jump in on the issue as well, ignoring the rule, one mod per issue. And this happened a lot in the modding group, where we would try to let each other, kindly know. We would nudge each other that, we needed to fix this, we needed to do something else, and it would be more than one mod per issue. There was another instance. Actually, first I should say after this instance, I did not ping Moon again, like I said, but I was also terrified to even reply to Moon's posts when she was actively posting about their art, their products, even as I saw members reply. You hit the reply button, right? Like, personally reply. Even as I saw the other mods personally reply. And I would only reply if I saw another mod personally reply. But I was terrified to do so. Anytime I would do so, my heart would just tighten. As for second issue, I asked Moon, using the mod group, a question about a thing that they were planning on doing that involved their business. And yes, it involved myself personally, and perhaps it could have been a personal message easily, but I asked it in the mod group. I had my own reasons for doing so. I don't feel I should explain my reasons for doing so. The best friend basically jumped down my throat telling me, hey, this needs to be a private message. So I deleted the comment, and I logged off of Discord, and I turned my computer off, and I put my phone down, and my tablet was who knows where at this point. And I could not open Discord nor my computer for a full 3 days. I'm a streamer and a YouTube content creator, and I could not even do that on my computer, my paid job, for 3 full days. It took a meltdown and my support system to come in, turn my computer on, check my Discord notifications to see if I had any pings or if I had any messages. This person did not look at any of my private messages. They only let me know where I had pings, and none of them were in the Sugary Carousel Sugar Bell Discord server. There were no new messages in the mod group chat at all since I deleted my message and said, it's deleted. There were no messages from Moon, even though I'm certain she must have known the question I asked. There were no messages from the other mods saying, hey, it's been 3 days, where are you? There was nothing. And I made the decision right then and there, with the help of my support system, and I let him help me draft a message to mod explaining that I needed a break from streaming. Can you move, sir? And Moon basically immediately replied and said, hey, yeah, of course you could take a break, take care of yourself, do what you need to do, but I will still be sending you a care package that I have curated for all of the mods for helping to take care of the community. Even after I stopped modding, I remained in the community because I had hope. It was my hope that by the time they started their next backer campaign, that I would be able to come back to modding for them. It was my hope. And there was a moment, of course, all of the other community members continued to believe that I was a mod because it was not stated publicly that I was taking a break or stepping down. So I would receive messages, I would receive pings, and I would always reroute them, the community members, to whatever mod happened to be online at the time. And then there was one point where there was just a misunderstanding in a conversation that I was pinged as if I was still a mod. And I said, hey, this issue was already solved by this other mod. And then hours after that, I'm no longer a mod, and the issue has been resolved by another mod. I received a ping from best friend. They pinged me. They did not ping the community member, and they said, hey, this issue was already solved. And I said, yeah, I just said that. I literally said that. And therein, that was another issue, that the rule that was implemented as 1 mod per issue was hereby ignored. And I continued to feel harassed and mocked, even after I had stepped down as a mod. And then I made the decision in January that I would not be able to come back as a mod, because as I started waking up from my grief of losing my Shanghai, I began to realize that this was happening. That this whole time I was being mocked and I was being harassed and I was probably being bullied. And it felt soul-crushing, heart-crushing, because I had joined the mod group in hopes of possibly making friends, when originally I had assumed that the position would be schedule these tweets, answer some comments on Facebook, all that fun stuff. But as a mod in the Discord channel, I not only kept the Discord channel as safe as possible, even if we were a little or very intense about doing so as mods, I answered customer service questions in the shop channel, and of my own accord, I did make a document, but I spent hours on this document cataloging Moon's chronic illness representation series. This document, even though it was a personal project, was used near daily by community members, and even after I stepped down, I felt pressured by a couple of the other mods to continue keeping this document updated. And in January, just before the launch of Moon's next campaign, I messaged explaining why I could not come back as a mod. And I did end my message stating I had hoped to make friends in the mod group. And Moon messaged back pretty much immediately. They messaged back pretty much immediately stating, I hear you, you're not being ignored, but right now I am at full mental capacity and I cannot answer your questions. And I would like to state that many times in the Discord or anywhere else, Moon would continue to state that they're at full mental capacity, and therefore they were ignoring customer service needs, and they were not communicating with their customers. And according to the Reddit post, many members who would give a critique in the comments on the Reddit post were, in fact, banned from the Discord. And I do believe I saw that a few of them even had some of their orders canceled. And Moon said that they would get back to me later. There was another Reddit post that was critiquing the toxicity of the Discord channel. And this was in March. This was in March, yes. And I commented, and I was like, yeah, I'm so glad that this is being spoken about, because this isn't fair. It is happening. It is a real thing. And it's kind of gross. And I basically stated I've even tried to get in touch with the owner about, specific things about why I decided I can't continue modding for that Discord channel. And then, I want to say 2 days later, and it was the same day, 1 day before my Shanghai was meant to turn 13, the same day that I was taking my Kosei to the vet to see what was going on with his heart. And it's possible Moon did not know that either of these 2 days were a thing. It's very, very possible. And I can't fault them if they didn't know. But on the way of a 2-hour drive to go and get my Kosei checked out, I did receive a message from Moon that was answering the message that I sent 3 months ago in January. I made myself wait until after Kosei's appointment. Kosei's heart was okay. And then I read the message that stated that there were many times that I made Moon concerned, uncomfortable, and like their boundaries that they never once audibly worded out to me, nor worded out to me. These boundaries that I was never told about, that I didn't know existed, that I still don't know what I pushed, were, in fact, pushed. In the message that I sent, I had stated that I felt like some of the mods were a little extra pushy with me. I never named a mod. But Moon immediately said that their best friend is just a little fiery. She also stated, I have spoken to her about your situations. And it's not clear whether or not the situations were what made Moon uncomfortable or pushed boundaries, or whether or not it was feeling extra pushed by the best friend in the modding group. But, like I've stated before, there was the post made by the best friend that was referencing a private conversation that I had had with Moon. And so when I messaged Moon back, I kept it short, I kept it simple. I stated, you're correct. I cannot push boundaries that I don't know exist. And I ended the message with, thank you for being honest with me about talking with with best friend about me. And Moon messaged back, and it was, just a simple, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I didn't mean that I talked to the best friend about you. I meant that I talked to her about chilling out with some of the situations. And then, but I did tell you about one boundary of mine. And yes, Moon did tell me about one boundary of hers. And I never crossed or pushed that boundary again to my own knowledge. And now I would like to state that at the end of the message, that the first one, before the reply of thank you for being honest with me, Moon replied about the friendship thing and stated that it's not a good idea to join a mod group to make friends because this is a business. And yes, I agree, it is a business. But the fact of the matter is, Moon's best friend was the only mod when I first joined. Moon's best friend. Now, I received the care package that Moon promised that they would send me just before Christmas, right around Christmas. And in the care package, and this is my own personal property, it has my name on it. It came to me in a mailer with my address on it. I am allowed to show this piece of property to whomever or wherever I want to show it. This is a handwritten note from Moon themselves. Amy, thank you so much for all you've done for my community. Enjoy this care package, a $100 gift certificate to my shop. This is the compensation that I received for modding for the Sugar Bell Discord server for 15 months, a $100 gift card to the shop. One of their pieces of art is on the other side. This is a public piece of art. You can find that on pretty much all of their socials. You can find it anywhere. And so I was holding on to that gift card, which is why I hadn't spent it yet. I spent, I think, 15 of it initially, because there was a plush that they were working on that I would have bought before I received their reply. But then I ended up in April, at the very beginning of April, using the gift certificate to get one of their community members a gift. Had I not had the gift certificate, I would have paid for the gift for this community member. The Sugary Carousel shop has a 7 to 12 day processing time. On day 11, my order was canceled with no communication from customer service from the Sugary Carousel shop. And not only was my order canceled, but I was also kicked, and I'm certain banned, from the Discord server that I spent 15 months helping to mod. I want this. I want this too. So then, any of my pleas that I tried to do amicably to try and get my compensation back, the order that I placed, were completely ignored by Moon themselves. And the post that I had made after realizing that this was not going to be happening for me publicly was reported and removed. Because I and many others who just don't want orders canceled, who just want a little bit of customer service communication from this Plushie brand, we're being silenced. But this is my channel. This is my YouTube. I am not sharing anything that is private, nothing that was privately discussed. I'm sharing my own personal property. I'm sharing my own personal story. I am speaking honestly. Much of what I have stated can be found publicly online. All I want is the compensation that I earned. I can't get back the year and a half that I felt pushed and harassed and isolated. I can't get that back. I can't get my Shanghai back, whom I lost during the most difficult time of my life. But I deserve to receive the compensation for the 15 months of work that I provided for Sugary Carousel, for Moon, and for their brand. Okay? If you happen to be watching this, none of this is kinder than silence. And if you had just not canceled my order, I would have received the order, I would have given the gift to the community member, and I would have moved on with my life, let you move on with your life, and you would have never heard from me again. Thank you for the kindness that you did offer me while I was modding for you. I was allowed, and I always asked permission to rant about what was happening in my life and the possibility of losing my home. And I never knew if that made them uncomfortable, but I always asked before I ranted to them. And I did receive a couple of other gifts from them. And for 15 months, and a little bit after, I truly believed that I was their friend. I did not know that they had no interest in pursuing a friendship with me.